Assalamualaikum Bibit to Madam Fadila binti Zainal Abidin and my fellow classmate. My name is Yang Amirah binti Zulkifli. As for this week, me and my teammate are going to present on the next case study, which is Csi and Genetic Fingerprinting. Before I proceed, let me introduce my teammate. Firstly, we have Najla Iklima binti Muhammad Rafi. Next, we have Safia Aksmak binti Muhammad Khaidi. Then Fairuz Safira binti Sahidan. And lastly, Yang Amira binti Zakifli. Now, let me tell you a little bit introduction of CSI and genetic fingerprinting. In the 1980s, researchers found that the most human DNA shows little variation from one person to another. Ideas about using the unique genetic blueprint of a suspect to indicate their identity has been used since 1985. It has been used to prove that the suspect were involved in crime and to free people who are wrongly convicted. The DNA is a biological molecule. It is a long, twisted chain, double helix, and a blueprint of everything in your body.
Hi, Assalamualaikum, and a very good day. My name is Safira binti Saidan, entry card 2019208346. The summary for this case study. DNA fingerprinting is a laboratory technique used to establish a link between biological evidence and a suspect in a criminal investigation. A DNA sample taken from a crime scene is compared with a DNA sample from a suspect. If the two DNA profiles are matched, then the evidence comes from that suspect. Now I will pass to the next presenter.
Hi, today I will discuss with you several questions about the article of CSI and DNA fingerprinting by Alex Jeffrey. Question number 1. What are the benefits of undirected research, curiosity-driven research? Do you know that there are 3 benefits of undirected research, which are development towards science and technology, push factor, and credit toward funding organization? First, development towards science and technology. There is much proven undirected research that lead to the development of science and technology. For example, the innovation of DNA fingerprinting by Alex Jeffrey in crime scene investigation. Second is push factor. Commonly, this undirected research is conducted based on the motivation, excitement, and curiosity of an individual to explore and find out more knowledge regarding a science phenomenon or the truth of nature. Third is credit toward funding organization. Undirected research need a lot of funding and preparation to carry out an experiment. Hence, the funding organization will get credit toward the successful research. The funding organization also can make a lot of profit from the discovery of research. The next question is, should firm undertake undirected research or should all research be linked to product and business? In my opinion, we feel like curiosity-driven research should be linked to the product and business rather than firm undertake the research. Why? This is because the research could lead to more development of technology by an individual or the researcher itself. Because of the excitement, idea, and motivation in order to complete the experiment or towards successful research. Besides that, the case study also stated that the primary reason of Alex Jeffrey to continue this research is because of his desire to solve a practical problem. There will be more idea of invention of technology produced by the researcher itself due to his driven motivation and curiosity along with the experiment of science and technology for profitable market and good progress for technology.
My name is Safia Asma binti Muhammad Khaidi and I will continue with the third question. It shows how this case illustrates the power and influence of radical innovation and incremental innovation. Radical innovation, Alex Jeffreys was the one who revealed the differences and similarities of DNA and established that each individual has their own unique genetic profile. It gives an impact on the criminal investigation. The influence of incremental innovation is in terms of updated capabilities of DNA analysis technologies. DNA profiling was further developed by Alex Jeffreys and his team in 1985, with the term DNA fingerprinting being retained for the initial test that compares many small parts of DNA. It focused on variable parts such as profiling, made the system more sensitive, more reproducible, and amenable to computer databasing, and soon became the standard forensic DNA system used in criminal casework and paternity testing worldwide. DNA profiling also developed by UK Forensic Science Service with highly automated and sophisticated equipment, a modern-day system in which DNA profiling can process hundreds of samples each day. The FSS designed and built a dedicated unit to establish the world's first DNA database to permit mouth and hair samples to be taken without consent from individuals. For the question number 4, given the contribution to society that DNA fingerprinting has made, why is Alex Jeffries not a household name? Alex Jeffries is the one who was responsible for developing DNA fingerprinting under Lister Institute, who paid for the research. However, the giant chemical company ICI, now known as AstraZeneca, bought the patent from the Lister Institute and formed a company called Selma Diagnostics. It is specifically to exploit the technology commercially. Over the next 20 years, it was extremely successful and profitable to the company. The large profits from the discovery of genetic fingerprinting do not go to the scientists who discovered, but they go to AstraZeneca. So this is why Alex Jeffrey could not make fortune of his development.
For question 5, explain why the adoption of technology in this case seems to have happened very quickly. After the Second World War in 1930, forensic science was more widely recognized for its value in crime detection, so that forensic science was fast recognized and valued by both police and the general public. Thankfully, DNA profiling is the most significant development yet in forensic science, and it was the Forensic Science Service that pioneered the development and implementation of DNA profiling technology. Identifying biological relationship of Christiana Sarba and her son Andrew in 1985. Next, murder and rape of two young by Colin Fishpot. And last, murder of a 16-year-old called Colette Aram. She was abducted, raped, and strangled on 30 October 1983 by the Paul Hudson's father of the reckless driver 2010. Question 6. Discuss how this case illustrates benefits and limitations of the public understanding of science. Case illustrate the benefit of bringing science to a mass audience and encourage interest in science among the populace, children and adults. Next, the extraordinary growth in the business of the DNA fingerprinting has been matched only by the mass appeal of the CSI television shows. In just few years, the industry has grown into $20 billion technology-intensive pollutions. Other than that, that case illustrates limitation is the public knowledge of DNA is limited to applied research that can assist the public in problem solving. This will in a way restrict the capabilities of science, which we believe can have a broader impact than focusing on a single problem at a time. After that, the cutting-edge technologies used on TV to gather and analyze DNA evidence as a major forensic toolkit for solving crimes raised public interest to the point that many jurors in real-world courtrooms expect to see DNA evidence even though the case does not warrant it.
The next two questions will be answered by me. Question number 7 are discuss the impact of the CSI phenomena. The CSI effect was first described in the media as a phenomenon resulting from viewing forensic and crime-based television shows. This issue is important because independent of its actual existence, a perceived CSI effect is negatively impacting the criminal justice system. The CSI effect suggests that the television program and its spin-off, which widely exaggerate by and glorifying forensic science affect the public and in turn affect trials either by burdening the prosecution by creating greater expectation about forensic science that can be delivered or burdening the defense by creating exaggerated faith in the capabilities and reliability of the forensic science. Also, on the positive note, the CSI phenomenon has helped people all around the world to become more inclined toward the use of technology. Children are more enthusiastic and inspired to take up science as career as a program. It has been given people an insight as to how forensic science can be applied in the real world in order to fight crime. To a certain extent, the CSI phenomenon has failed in that it is misleading as it fails to give more detail on how DNA samples gathered should be stored appropriately in order to be reused. The CSI phenomenon does not reveal the other complexity associated with the use of forensic science to solve real-life issues, which can be a problem. And lastly, question number 8. Explain the prosecutor fallacy and why is it a problem? The prosecutor fallacy is most often associated with miscarriage of justice. It's when the probability of innocence given the evidence is wrongly assumed to an equal infinitesimal probability that the evidence would occur if the defendant was innocent. In other words, is that the prosecutor fallacy argues if DNA of a suspect is found at a crime scene, it does not necessarily mean that the suspect is the perpetrator. This can therefore make it much more difficult for us to completely rely on science to solve criminal cases, as it would then mean that more evidence will be needed in order to prove that the perpetrator is held responsible for his or her action. There is a 1 in a billion chance that a person's DNA matches another person's DNA. This argument makes it probable that science may have a very slight chance of not being accurate or correct.
In conclusion about the article of CSI and DNA fingerprinting, we can conclude that curiosity-driven research is an attractive case that may apply to bring other good improvement to the life in terms of technology, science, and development. For example, the technology of DNA fingerprinting in CSI developed by Alex Jeffrey. The invention of DNA and fingerprinting technology able to develop more technology in criminal investigation such as to prove suspects who are involved in crime and to release people who are not guilty. Besides that, this research also brought science to a mass audience and increased interest in science among children. Thank you.